Hello, I'm Professor Kino, and welcome to my Office of Cinematic Antiquity. Today we'll be talking about... Let's be honest, most of us when we first heard about Crawl initially probably didn't think too much of it. For me, a horror movie about a hurricane and alligators sounded intriguing, but with Alexandre signed on as director, who hasn't done anything stellar in the past, and the Rasmussen brothers credited as the film's writers, who also haven't done anything great, I presume that Crawl would have ended up being some schlock with the quality akin to an above-average sci-fi original. In other words, I didn't think it was going to be great. But then the first trailer dropped, and two things came to light. First, Sam Raimi was producing the flick, and his producing results have had a good track record. Just look at Don't Breathe, the film with a similarly silly premise that actually ended up being quite good. And second was that what I saw in the trailer looked well crafted. I was particularly drawn to the sound editing of the thing. Just listen to this.
In less than an hour, we'll be underwater!
Banging on the pipes blurs their senses.
I can distract them for you. You got this!
The way that the trailer uses a ticking clock in tandem with various clangs, bangs, clicks, and whirs on various beats and some offbeats is fantastic. And addicting to watch. All of this excited me, and I couldn't wait to see the film. So did Crawl end up surpassing my early doubts? Premise. When a Category 5 hurricane tears across Florida and college girl Haley can't get in contact with her father Dave, she decides to head into the storm to find him and, if need be, help him evacuate. However, Haley soon realizes that the hurricane is the least of her worries after she and her father get trapped in a crawl space by some big ol' gators. Writing. Crawl is pretty simple, but whoever said that simple can't be effective? Just like with the Sam Raimi produced Don't Breathe, Crawl stretches its simple premise to its most logical extreme, and the result is a fast-paced, tense, and damn entertaining time. And there are three parts of the film's writing that make this possible. First, the characters Haley and Dave are good people that you can easily root for. They both have relatable human flaws, but you fully understand who they are, where they come from, and what their father-daughter relationship is like. And at some moments, this film does become a deep family drama about moving away from the past. While that may seem like too much for a film like this, none of the development ever feels forced and it rarely feels exposition heavy. The characters in Crawl are just good characters for the B-horror ride that this film ultimately is. The second thing that makes this movie work is its setting. The combination of the hurricane and for a good chunk of the film, claustrophobic crawl space really adds to the tension of the whole experience. It presents us with a visible time limit. Not only is there an overarching time frame that is the hurricane and its slow destruction of the house our heroes are in, but there was also an added secondary time frame that comes with the hurricane, a slowly rising water level. Our characters are forced to stay on their toes and adapt as the movie progresses because not only is the house that they are in slowly falling apart, but it is also slowly flooding. So each section of the house, the crawl space, the first floor, the second floor, etc., is another puzzle that needs to be solved before Haley and Dave are able to escape their predicament. But there was also an added element to this that makes the difficulty level of it all crank up to extreme. Alligators. Escaping the hurricane's wind and water is made even more chaotic because Haley and Dave can't fall back on what is easiest or fastest or even slowest because making the wrong decision could result in them becoming gator food. Consequently, our protagonist needs to do what's smartest in each situation while also racing against time. And this type of setting for a thriller is brilliant. And finally, the third aspect of Crawl's writing that helps make it what it is that the script never gives the characters, and by association us, time to breathe and calm down. Every time that it seems like Haley and Dave get the upper hand of their situation, a new curveball gets thrown at them that knocks them back to square one. There's never an opportunity to celebrate any win because some unforeseen catastrophe is always right around the corner. Consequently, every movement and decision in Crawl becomes exponentially more tense, even if nothing bad comes of it, because the film makes it clear from the outset that every victory has the potential to backfire at any second. And all three of these factors, the relatable characters, the tense setting, and the lack of downtime, make this film work wonders. Yes, there are a couple of small flaws, namely that the characters suffer extreme injuries and are still capable of pulling off some difficult feats, but all of these shortcomings are easy to forgive because the final result is, overall, just a simple, fun summer thrill ride. Acting. There are only two actors that need to be discussed. Scodelario as Haley and Barry Pepper as Dave. Both are excellent here. They have a great father-daughter chemistry together, both sell the intensity of each scene, and both are able to showcase their characters' personality traits, such as their stubbornness, solely through their acting. While neither of them deliver Oscar-worthy performances, both are perfectly suitable for the tone and themes of Crawl. Costumes, hair, and makeup. Clothes-wise, Haley and Dave just have on basic clothes, though sometimes with an aquatic similar theme to them. However, while the wardrobes aren't super stylish, watching them slowly get ripped, torn, and tattered as the movie progresses is nicely done, a solid attention to detail. The standout of this category is the gruesome makeup. In a movie with gators, you can bet some people are gonna get bit, and the puncture marks, mangled limbs, and everything in between look great. They had my whole theater going, "Oh, God!" Fantastic stuff. Set design. The main controversy of this movie was that it takes place in Florida and a chunk of it takes place under a house. And the widespread reaction to this was, houses in Florida don't have basements. Personally, I'm from central New York, so I don't really have a frame of reference for this argument. But I looked at the director's response to it, and he said that true, not a lot of houses in Florida have basements. However, crawl space doesn't feature a basement, but a crawl space. And according to Aja, houses in Florida do have those. And these locations are often more cramped and less finished than traditional basements. Of course, I did some research and found an article that said that while modern Floridian houses don't tend to have crawl spaces, Floridian houses dating back at least 70 years did. So while having a crawl space in the house in Crawl might not be something that is common for a house in Florida, it is definitely not impossible. But controversy aside, the crawl space is amazingly effective in this film. It adds a cramped, claustrophobic, and dank atmosphere to it that makes the whole experience work. Similarly, while the rest of the house isn't as confined, by the time we get there, most of it is flooded, and that makes it just as intense, where stepping on the wrong object could send our characters plunging into the dark water, or could even worse, signal the presence to the gators. While the sets themselves aren't too memorable visually, they definitely work emotionally and thematically, and because of that, the set design for Crawl is really good. Choreography. The action here is intense. None of it is hand-to-hand stuff, and a lot of it happens quickly, but boy is it satisfying. From fending off vicious gators, to frantically swimming to safety, to trying to dislodge oneself from the grasp of a gator's jaws, the action here is consistently sudden and fast, but intense and wonderful. The perfect combination for a film like Crawl. Cinematography. This film is surprisingly good looking. Whether the camera is pulled in really tight during the more claustrophobic scenes, or angled in the water to make it seem like anything could be under it, just adds to the tension repeatedly. Crawl is really well shot. Editing. While the editing, including the sound editing, isn't as amazing as it was in the trailer for Crawl, it's still not half bad. Incorporating scares at effective moments, revealing the gators at pivotal times, and keeping the tension constant, this film is actually spliced together neatly and effectively. CGI. While the CGI is not wholly realistic, it does look quite good. The CG water, not all the water, is a little stylized, but in a way that makes it feel powerful and even more terrifying. And the gators also look monstrous and horrifying, but what I admired most was the way that the film makes them seem clumsy and hulking when on land, but graceful and strong when in the water. And they also look really realistic, and the reason for this, according to the director, is that the film crew spent a long while observing the movements of the great Floridian gator that is the length of an SUV named, quite accurately, Godzilla. And then the motions were recreated with mechanisms and guys in green unitards. And the work shows because the final result is some good-looking gators. Music. The music in Crawl is low and rumbling. It's nothing new, but it was tense and strangely created the sensation of being submerged. That last part is difficult to explain in words, but the music tended to sound slightly muffled, and it tended to reverberate the way that sound does when underwater or when water droplets drip slowly in an echoey room. It's pretty cool. Again, nothing amazingly new, but solid. Direction. Alexandre Aja took it to the next level with this film. He has always done horror thrillers with a lot of tension, but Crawl is by far his best. The simplicity of the story, the effectiveness of the atmosphere, the realism of the gators, the solid performances, and the set's ability to visualize the race against time at the core of the film all work together to create a stupendous summer action thriller. I wouldn't be surprised to see Aja sign on to direct some high-budget productions in the near future, and I look forward to seeing if Crawl is just a rare, well-done exception in his filmography of mediocre horror, or if it is the start of a promising career shift that warrants excitement. My enjoyment. I really liked this movie. Honestly, I went in thinking the whole thing might end up being a slog to get through, but I was rewarded with a bare-knuckled, tense, and thoroughly entertaining ride. It's this sort of surprise that makes me love going to the movies, and this is definitely the biggest surprise of the year for me so far. I loved it, and I wouldn't be exaggerating if I said that this film might just sneak its way into my top 10 films of 2019 list at the end of this year. Yes, I liked it that much. Recommendations. If you want to go out and just have a fun, thrilling time, I wholly recommend Crawl. It's one of the, if not the, best crowd-pleasing horror films to have come out this year so far. This metric may shift with the upcoming Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which I am really excited for, and It Chapter 2, which is one of my most anticipated films of the year. But as of right now, if you want an entertaining thrill ride, watch Crawl. It's worth it. Thanks for watching, I hope you liked it. If you did, leave a like. If you want to add anything, feel free to leave a comment. If you want to see more, please subscribe. I am Professor Kino, and I look forward to our next discussion.